Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Yet again, it's that time, folks.
I know, the week flies by really quickly. I was talking to someone today saying that they couldn't believe it was October. They felt like it was still August, which I completely empathize with. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always had this feeling, at least for a while now, that time seems to be speeding up.
I do.
This is like how we measure our weeks.
Yeah,
really.
On our Thursdays.
Is it Thursday?
So good to see all of you. My name is Stephanie McPhail. I'm the expert in helping brilliant women date up. #1 coach in helping people heal from codependency and unhealthy relationships. This is my husband, David Chan.
Hi, all. And she's also the author of the #1 new release in codependency, Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt. Recognize and overcome toxic relationships so you can live your best life now. Shameless plug. You'll see the book up there.
Yeah, thanks. I was going to not even mention that.
Hey, well, I'm a fan, so.
Well, thank you.
Welcome, friends, new and old. Really excited to see you here. A lot of you, just like us, you look forward to these every Thursday. Really, our goal is to provide you with some killer content, new distinctions, and ultimately tools to make big changes in your lives. So you can go from kind of where we were, miserable in shitty relationships with no hope for the future, to just a bright world of possibilities, love, enjoyment, peace of mind. So welcome, friends, new and old.
We already see some very friendly, regular faces. We have a client watching. Hello, Renee.
Hello, hello.
Good to see all of you. As you come on, make sure you say hello. We love hearing just the hellos. And of course, if you're watching this as a replay, we will go back and answer questions. Always good to tag us so that we know that you would like us to answer a question. And good to ask like with a question mark so that we're sure we don't miss anything as we're going through all of the comments.
For sure. Yeah, things are getting really big. This group is getting really big, but it's us, guys. We're here with you, running the ship. So we do everything we can to make sure we give you the attention and respond back to your questions. And again, we love the weekly live because it gives us a chance to interact. We're not always doing a Q&A format, but of course we love watching. And I'm going to try to get the feed on my phone so I can kind of monitor the
so it's easier for us to answer all the great questions that we have.
Hi, Chris. David, we got
so many gifts,
some new names, some old names. We love it.
Good people.
Welcome, guys.
All right, so we're gonna dive in. I'm sure you're excited to talk about what we are going to be jumping into today. I think that this is something, as usual, we always pick something that comes up all the time in the group, and this is something that's been coming up a lot in the group. So I'm gonna just kind of give you a warning ahead of time. If you're easily offended and you're not ready to even hear what possibly could be going wrong for you, this might not be the one for you to watch. Maybe watch one of the other ones. But we're going to get in deep a little bit.
That was very nice and polite. Let people know. Sometimes look, as coaches, we got to give you the harsh reality. Mm-hmm. And please understand, this is not to make anyone feel bad, but like the saying goes, better to be slapped with the truth than kissed with a lie. So prepare. And you mentioned this is something that comes up a lot. It does, I agree, but I don't think most people are actually aware of this.
Oh, definitely not.
And I'll just share briefly and I'll let Steph get into it. This is one of those things that was very relevant for me in terms of one of the biggest obstacles to moving forward in my life. Mm-hmm. Something that I hadn't even really considered. And I thought I was pretty smart. So if you think you're pretty smart, like me, right? And somehow your life is still not quite working out, grab a pen and paper. Be prepared to take some notes because I definitely think you're going to get a lot out of this.
Yeah, the expert in helping brilliant women date up was because specifically like really smart people. We used to work mostly with just women. Now we work with men as well. But really smart people get sucked into these unhealthy relationships, and so there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind closed doors that we don't realize. So if you're ready to dive in, dive in.
Dive in the comments. Let's go. Yeah, so we've got a lot of intelligent people in this group, but let's also acknowledge, emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. That's, I think, what really moves the needle.
Well, emotional, yeah. Like, there's so many things we could talk about, but we're not there yet.
I'll let you lead, babe, because you got the format, you got the structure, she's got the focus.
Well, no, but right away I can get sucked into other things. So we're gonna dive in for all of you so we can get started. So. Has anyone in here ever asked themselves or like tried to figure out why they can't get ahead? Where, they're like, you feel like in a pool where you're like, I'm trying to get to the other side. I can't get there. Has anyone ever noticed that before? You felt that before? Have you ever felt that before?
Well, yeah. I mean, once I realized that my life wasn't working and I was just miserable and I started to become open to new ideas, I started, I was in therapy, read the self-help books, spent time in introspection, all that stuff. And got a lot of insight in a lot of ways, some good ideas, some new distinctions, but yeah, my life wasn't changing. I still felt like crap. How many of you guys relate to that? Like, a lot of our members here, and we've got over 11,000 members at this point, I don't think that the vast majority of you are like, oh, hey, I just decided that I want to, do something different. So many of our members here have been trying to make a difference in their lives for a long time. Am I right?
Yeah, for sure. And so here's what happens. So people will say to themselves that they can't get ahead. And so you look at this when it comes to money, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to pretty much anything big in life. We ignore the problem. Like, it's fine. We'll take care of it. It'll be fine. I'll deal with it. I'll overcome it. Whatever. We ignore. We just try to give reasons, excuses. We don't actually jump in and try to do anything to make our situation different. So ignoring it is a huge one. We compare ourselves to other people. Now, I'm gonna throw this out there. Of course, I always jump in here, right? So if your relationship is not as bad as everybody else's, but it's still pretty shitty, does that make it a good relationship?
Yeah, not so much. Well, I mean, it's an important thing to consider too, because I think a lot of people engage in that comparison, a lot of times unconsciously. But, there's that whole concept of keeping up with the Joneses and putting on airs and trying to feel. I mean, let's face it, who can admit that they allow themselves to feel better by comparing themselves to other situations? I mean, I'm not going to lie, like in years past, I'd occasionally flip on like Hoarders or My 600-Pound Life and be like, hey, not so bad.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting on the couch eating
chips.
chips.
Yeah, and we can do that, right? It's not just relationships. We do it with our weight and money and like all those things. So, when you're surrounding yourself, my grandfather would always say to me when I was younger, show me who you're surrounding yourself with and I'll tell you who you are. And I just remember that being like, yeah, but I like everybody. I'm friends with everybody. And so many of us try to be that kind of chameleon where we hang out with everybody, which is really cool. However, what I started to notice for myself is that I was around all these other horrible, horrible relationships where I would be around people and I was never sure when someone was going to flip out, when there was going to be a problem, when the cops were going to be called. It's like, oh, at least it's not me this time. At least it's not my relationship this time.
Yeah.
And everyone had this secret. I would know this person's cheating. This person is, actually doing drugs behind the other one's back, like all these different things. And that was those were the other relationships that I was surrounding myself with. So mine kind of comparatively didn't seem that bad all the time. In fact, I had other people sometimes look up to me. They looked up to my relationship.
Meanwhile, if you knew her history and her stories, you probably wouldn't be too envious. Sorry, but...
yeah, you're so right.
Yeah.
And the perfectionist in a lot of us that try to pretend like everything is okay, we put up a front. And so kind of mentally, we're comparing ourselves to other people and we're saying it's not so bad for us, while really it's pretty terrible, but people just don't know.
Yeah, there's an expression I heard recently, comparison is the thief of joy. Mm-hmm. And think about it, if you don't have a solid foundation within yourself, your own standards against which you measure your habits and your actions and your feelings, you're going to be caught in that rat race. I mean, again, whether it's relationships, finances, status, anything like that. Mm-hmm. As long as you look to other people to determine where you are, how successful you are, you're going to reap the rewards of playing your life by other people's rules, and that's dissatisfaction.
But I'm going to kind of a little bit disagree there because, here's the thing. If you're constantly around unhealthy people and your relationship is not that great and you're like, well, nobody's relationship is great, but you can actually have positive reinforcement where you're around people, like us. We don't really hang out. Actually, we don't hang out with anyone that's in an unhealthy relationship now. Yeah. We don't have the energy for it. So we only surround ourselves with those people. If people have a bad relationship and they're not working on something, like we're not interested in spending much time with them. So I think that's kind of like, the energy. One becomes the other. You just kind of, I don't know.
It is
that kind of comparison would be a good one because you're kind of just still and it's not even just comparisons, but you're all kind of doing the same thing.
Well, I appreciate where you're coming from. I don't think it's really comparison.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's acknowledgement and appreciation, because when you feel good about yourself at a deep level, and again, whether it's relationships or any other area of life, you're not compelled to look at the other person and say, oh, what are they doing? let me compare. Like, I mean, some of our closest friends are people who I know for myself, years ago, I would have looked at and be like, I would never be friends with people like that. Like, they're too out of my league. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
and
that's a good point.
So, but now we're friends with people who are making tremendous impacts in the world and people's lives, bringing health and joy and happiness and reaping all the rewards of that.
And before we were the only ones kind of doing it.
Abundance in every way. And
Yeah.
we hang out and I'm not like, oh, gee, thinking self-conscious about where I am because of where they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think, and I think that's true.
Subtle distinction.
Yeah.
I think we agree.
It's
just the way to
agreed,
put
yeah,
it.
because I think that's definitely part of it is like we level up. Like when we start to heal ourselves and we start to feel better, then automatically we hang out with people who are better for us.
And that is self-fulfilling too. It's very supportive.
Yeah. It looks like a lot of people are resonating with that. Another reason why we can't seem to get ahead is because the lack of education. Now, that doesn't mean like going to college, whatever, trade school, whatever. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about education about what it is specifically that you want. And so, of course, this is a relationship group. So we're going to talk about the education of a happy, healthy relationship. I've been giving lately the example of, if I came up to you and I said, build the Eiffel Tower, and you're like, okay, do I get the directions? Do I get the schematics, like all the important information? And I'm like, nope, figure it out. There'd be a lot of people screaming, running away and saying like, how the heck am I supposed to figure that out? Well,
yeah, and they mostly probably say, oh, that's not possible.
Never.
So I'm not even going to try.
Yeah, never.
I mean, the Eiffel Tower is pretty grand, but I think that's...
I think it could be figured out with the right direction. Or even like, for example,
Legos maybe. Yeah.
Like in Legos. I remember I remember trying to copy a painting. I am not an artist in any way, shape, or form. But then an artist taught me, well, you do squares and you do little pieces of it and you can actually create, because you create each little square as opposed to the entire painting. And that little piece of information, those little chunks, those little bits, all of a sudden I'd created this beautiful masterpiece. And I was impressed with myself. I was like, I don't think I could do anything like that.
And bear in mind that that's from taking the direction from an expert.
Yes.
All right?
Yes. So, that's what it is. Once you get that outside perspective from an expert who knows what they're doing and can take the guesswork out and help you figure it out. I would have never figured out how to paint that painting on my own, not made it look like that, that's for sure. Like stick figures are about what I can do. And here I was, it was like a Van Gogh. I don't remember what I did with it, but I was so impressed. And that's the way it is with relationships. We try to fit things in and, a movie I saw, a relationship I might have seen or heard about, or, we put all these things together based on our own faulty knowledge, try to make it all that it's like, glue and, little pieces of tape and, whatever. We try to MacGyver it and it just doesn't work.
Oh, God.
The young ones won't know MacGyver.
That's actually, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, MacGyver was successful in, rigging things.
We're not so successful.
Most of us are not that. Well, that's how I remember the show, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But and when it comes to relationships, I mean, this is a really relevant point. So good stuff.
Step-by-step goals. We don't really know what we want for ourselves. So we don't really know what little steps that we need to make to get to where we want to be. When I ask people, well, where do you want to be in life? Most of the responses are, I don't know. I have no idea what I want to do. And so how can we get ahead if we don't know what we need to do to get ahead? Just like in my example of the painting, you get little pieces and then that gets you ahead, that moves you forward. Without those little pieces, you wouldn't know which direction to go. We're unfocused and we're looking around at everything. And I bet a lot of you that have said, hey, I want to get ahead. I'm trying to get ahead. You've read books, you've, watched the movies, you've done workbooks, you've done whatever, and you haven't really been able to figure it out because it's just like, you're not sure for you what you want for yourself, because for all of us it's very different. It's not good what I want for you, it's what you want for your life. So everybody wants something a little bit different. So the steps for you might be a little bit different. You might have to go around in a little bit of a different way. So how's that sound so far? We're talked about people or why we can't get ahead. So would that resonate for people? You like that so far?
Yeah, and these are the preliminary questions.
Yeah,
right.
We haven't even jumped in all the way yet.
Well, I've given some great ideas and tips, but as you probably gathered from the posts that we announced this live in, there's a fundamental point, and we're going to get to this. And again, you're doing great. I have a couple of things I want to layer on, but continue on.
You ready to layer, or you want to still wait for a second?
I think it's going to come up in a little bit.
Okay.
It's going to come up.
All right. So the next question to ask is, why do people in my life keep pushing my buttons? And that's something that comes around a lot. If you are in a relationship, if you have family members that are sociopaths, narcissists, possibly borderline personality disorder, they don't all have to be grouped in the same thing, but it could be those things. And what happens is that in a healthy relationship, like if David says to me, which happened not that long ago, like, hey, kind of you're pushing my buttons, you're not, whatever, not talking. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, that's not at all what I meant to do. Let's talk about it. We talk about it. Because the last thing I'm not purposefully trying to do those things to be harmful or hurtful. So let's talk about it. If you're in a relationship with a narcissist or a sociopath, you're going to say, hey, you're pushing my buttons. And their response is going to be maybe not out loud, because that would be nice if they actually said it out loud, like in the cartoons where they start like twisting their mustaches. But what they're actually going to do is they're going to take a little mental note, a little check mark, and be like, that really pissed them off when I did that. I'm going to do that some more. And what they're doing from that is they're trying to navigate, it's like a dog that has one of those electric collars. They'll go really close to all the edges to see if there's any spot that they can get through. And then they'll get through the one spot that doesn't have the good, electricity going through it.
I would think more of the Velociraptors.
I was thinking the Jurassic Park too. Yeah, I was thinking that too. But they'll test the boundaries. And so since us, as the person who wants to help others and wants to, because we want to be loving and caring towards our partners, weird, and so we try to like make them understand, like, hey, this is what I need, and maybe if I can just explain it a little bit more, they're going to finally get it. But instead, they use that as a sign of weakness, and they try to test it, and then they use it against us later on. They want you to be kept busy trying to figure out what you need to do in order to stop getting, to get your needs met, to get that attention that's there. So I wanted to talk about that before, and then I want David to jump in, because this is definitely a David question right here. But I think that is something that's good to know just ahead of time, to know that in the background, that it's specifically being done to confuse you and to control you. So David, I know that this is a big thing for you, is that, people pushing buttons. And I know that that's a topic that you are passionate about. So how is it, why do you think people have the excuse of having your buttons pushed?
Well, we all have these programs that pop up whenever we have some kind of stimulus. It's like you go into a computer and you're looking for data, you're looking for information, and you're going to get whatever is stored in there. Now, the thing is that people don't realize oftentimes that these programs exist, and they put the responsibility for how they feel on other people. And, that's like when someone's, quote unquote, pushing your buttons, you have this reaction, and it's very common for people to blame the other person. Mm-hmm. But, and I didn't really think of this until now, but there's an expression that I go to a lot, and I've mentioned it before. It's like, so what do you get when you squeeze an orange? Well, yeah, you get orange juice. Mm-hmm. Well, why is that? It's because that's what's inside. The simple lesson here is that it's not who or what is doing the squeezing, right? Because if you were more emotionally intelligent, more emotionally self-sufficient, and less prone to be irritated by other people's so-called good opinions, someone could say anything. They could say something hateful and nasty to you, and you would have a different reaction. You would have a reaction of peace, maybe even kindness, forgiveness.
But now years and years of being treated badly, how could you not have a sense of anger and frustration and all of that stuff?
Yeah, well, if you don't find a way to So
are they supposed to just deal? Just
level
stick around?
level up, become a bigger person. If you haven't considered, well, what can I do to not be so bothered by other people's opinions? And again, that's just the tip of the iceberg with that question. Mm-hmm. Well, these patterns are going to continue, and they're going to continue to be reinforced. So, I think an important thing to consider is, again, one of these questions, right? Like, do you feel like your buttons get pushed all the time? And I kind of came up with some of these questions and posted earlier today about this talk. specifically for a reason to kind of like, I don't know, almost kind of poke you guys a little bit, like needle a little bit, because this is probably directed to people who are kind of more in victim mode. You know what? Oh, if I didn't have this person in my life, or if I didn't have this situation, my toxic ex, and we're stuck together, so I've got to deal with their crap, and it's their fault I'm feeling badly. My boss is a narcissist and he treats me like crap, right? Is it empowering to put responsibility for how you feel on other people? Well, let's look at that for a second. If you feel powerless to change, it might feel good for you to believe that other people are responsible, because then it removes the responsibility to change from your shoulders. And, the thing that I think is really sad and disheartening about that is that people experience this, they believe it, and then they experience it over and over and over again. How we think over long periods of time becomes a mood, which becomes a temperament, which becomes a personality trait. And these things get ingrained and we become prisoners. And I think we're kind of like getting into it. But when I ask the questions like, why do these things happen, right? Feeling like you've been dealt an unfair hand, noticing that you feel stuck, your life isn't changing, feeling like other people push your buttons, it's because you've been on autopilot. And the way I put it, quite frankly, is you've been lying to yourself. Now, we don't, necessarily grasp that or feel that that's always the case. But I think we'll get into that a little bit more. Do you want to?
Yeah. Well, and so and I want to make it, and I want to make it very, very clear. So David is saying, like, to poke a little bit. No way, shape, or form is anyone saying like that you should try to stick around. We want you to get your own buttons pushed a little bit from us to try to motivate you for change. Because here's the thing that I'm going to give you a little heads up before we say anything else. You have the power to create what you want. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more in a few minutes. And I think that's really what David is getting to. And I think that's really important for you to realize.
Time to lean in, guys.
Time to lean in. So if you feel like your buttons have been pushed like crazy, my buttons were pushed all the time. There are still some people in my life, I can probably think of one or two that we could both have, that our buttons are pushed from. It's just that we have that, right? But if you have a lot of people that are pushing your buttons, so if you're someone that have had your buttons pushed by people in your life, write down the word buttons. Write down buttons, that you are someone that's had to deal with those buttons being pushed. It's the ex, it's the children, it's the parents, it's the grandparents, it's your uncle, it's, whoever it is. And of course, this could go because of whatever's happened to you in the past. So, just write down buttons. So the next thing that I want to talk about is, one of the other questions was, I've been dealt an unfair hand. So, I hear a lot of times people will say something like, everyone else got it so easy. I've just had too much to overcome. There's no way for me to make things better. And so we have this negative mindset. And so right away we say to ourselves, as soon as we say, I've been dealt an unfair hand, that's victim mentality. That's a victim saying that, because, hey, I was just reading, I actually sent this to our clients in our client group, a story about a Native American who was running a race and someone stole his shoes. And he went on into the garbage, found 2 different pairs of shoes. One was too big, and laced those suckers up and ended up beating, getting like gold in 3 different events, I think is what the exact story was. But, one of those things, we can say that we've gotten this unfair hand. This guy could have said very easily, like, oh, that's it, forget it. I've been racing all this time and someone stole my shoes, so I'm out. But instead, he was like, what can I do? I'm going to go through the garbage and find some shoes and I'm going to win some races. And he did. So there are so many comeback stories that we've all heard about people that have been dealt some pretty terrible things, who have made some pretty amazing comebacks. So if you are someone who's been using that victim mentality to kind of, lower your own ability to feel empowered, keep that in mind, that it might not be just the unfair hand. It's how you've used that hand that you've been dealt.
Life, as they say, is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. And this is the essence of the teaching tonight. And we're going to give you some little tips and hints to kind of some new perspectives to see a different path, and then some actual tips and tools to to really get some traction and pull yourself out of these categories.
I see Christina saying, I'm cursed. Well, I'm glad that you said that because we're calling you out. We're going to call out a few other people too. I saw Chris comment before, this is always meant to be empowering. So we want you to keep that in the back of your mind. So another question that we asked before we started was, are you wondering why your life hasn't been changing for the better? So people will say, people will come to me and they'll say, Stephanie, I really want things to get better. I'm trying to change, but nothing has actually changed for me. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. And then we talk about it and they've been doing the same exact thing, the same exact way for their entire life. Well, how are things going to get better? If I was going to keep doing things exactly the way I'd done them before, I would still be in an unhealthy relationship. I wouldn't be married to this guy. I wouldn't be talking to any of you.
It's true.
And one of those things is that we can keep saying, I try, I want. We can't just wish it and then it just magically appears. We have to decide with all of our might inside and say, hey, I want to create something different. I am willing to go through the discomfort of change in order to create something different, because right now I'm in the discomfort of the same old thing over and over again. So if you're wondering why your life hasn't changed for the better, what specifically have you done that is different from what you've done before? And what are you willing to do? Because that's it too. You have to be willing to feel that discomfort, ready to say hey, I can't do this, and ask for help. So, that's another big piece of it too.
So Karen Jones is mentioning it's not a choice as to how we act or react. I'm respectfully going to disagree with you there.
Yeah.
We're always all making choices. I think maybe what you're referring to, Karen, is the likelihood that the choices being made are unconscious. So we're not aware that they're choices. And this isn't to say that people don't deserve empathy and compassion. Because look, a lot of you are dealing with some serious shit. Mm-hmm. Horrible situations. Mm-hmm. We see it every day. And please don't misunderstand. This isn't victim shaming by any means. But the essence of what we're trying to get across here is that you are far more powerful than you've been led to believe. Mm-hmm. I just, again, I have a couple of thoughts I want to layer on as we kind of get into this. Mm-hmm. But in my experience, it's a matter of becoming aware of the choices and finding how to choose differently. Oh,
yeah. Karen said it is a choice. And, and that's what it is. Like my son today, where we had a conversation with him where he lost his temper and he decided to throw something at his sister's head. We said, well, that was a choice. What could you have done differently? Well, what he could have done differently was walk away, remove himself from the situation. So, that's something to keep in mind. We have the power to make the decision. We don't have to react automatically with our first intention, because that's the automatic mode. We can change whatever our normal reactions would be if we are observant of it and we pay attention. And one of the other questions on there was feel like there's some...
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you, Jenny, for correcting me. And Karen, I apologize. I did misread. Okay. She said, it is not a choice. She was asking, is it not a choice as to how we act or react? I missed the question mark in the phrasing. Sorry. Well, I think we're on the same page.
Yes, so we all agree.
Good.
All right. So the next one is feel like there's something missing. You are missing. So, a lot of times I feel like people say, I felt this. I felt like everybody else in the world was in this wonderful relationship, that other place, and I had just missed out. I had missed out on the fun party. I had missed out on the, the ability to have great friends that, I felt really comfortable with, had that community. I was missing out on, just the relationships that I thought were kind of everywhere and normal. And I thought that there was it was just me. That's all that it was. Did you ever feel that way? I was definitely never one of the kids that fit in places. So it kind of just felt like that in every part of my life.
Yeah, definitely not here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely not. So if that's another question. And so the last thing, and this is where we're really going to jump in, I'm going to definitely let David do some more talking, but the results that what you need to remind yourself, and what I'm going to call all of you out on right now, is that if these things have been resonating for you, I want you to just have a little thought for yourself that maybe, just maybe, probably, but maybe, you've been lying to yourself. some of the things that we tell ourselves that are lies to ourselves, and we might not even realize they're lies, but I'm just going to give some of the phrases that like I thought of when I was stuck feeling all these things. And then we're going to talk about, let David talk about it. So, I can do this on my own. Smart woman, right? Degrees. I had a degree in psychology, a crisis counselor, all these different things. Thought I could figure it out on my own. I thought I knew better. Oh yeah, I get it. I'm going to just do something different. I know better than them. I can fix them. I can change them. I'm already seeing denial. Yes, I love it. It's all their fault. It's all their fault. It's their fault that they're treating me this way. It's their fault that, I am afraid to go out with my friends because they're going to harass me and stalk me and whatever. It's all their fault. If I can figure out the secret, everything will be fine with this person. Again, we've done a few of these videos on like becoming the expert in figuring out like narcissism and, knowing everything about codependency or knowing everything about sociopath, whatever it is. If I can just figure out what the problem is, then everything will be fine. I can just, tweak some things. If I just hold on long enough, again, it's like we're trying to join a fraternity or sorority. And like, if I just stick around long enough and I deal through all the discomfort, finally it's all going to pay off and I'm going to get to be this wonderful, in this wonderful, amazing relationship. Maybe this time they will change and get it. Maybe this time, this is the time where they finally will listen to me and they'll understand the error of their ways. And you want to give them just one more chance. They're finally acting good for once. So I might as well just, stick around because they're not being that bad right now. I'm too old to make changes and start over. I was 34 and I thought that I was too old to start over. Come on. It is not, we tell ourselves these lies. No one will love me. No one will love me. I'm too broken. No one wants to date someone with a crazy ex. Oh, that was a belief that I had for a long time. I can't make it on my own. I was making it on my own already because I was already, paying for an entire household and taking care of everything. I need them. My life, who will I be without them? I like their friends. I like their family. There's stuff about them. On paper, we're good. I see the good in them. I see the possibilities. It's my purpose to help them. I was put on this planet to help them be better and to see the light. I'm afraid to be alone. What if I'm alone and it's this terrible thing if we're alone. And then I made vows, or if I just try harder, things will get better. And I don't know if any of that resonates for any of you, because those are some of the things that would go on in my mind. If I could just figure it out. Those were the lies. One more year would go by. 2 more years went by. I knew pretty quickly.
Sounds familiar, right, guys?
In the relationship that things were bad and they were not going to get any better. And I kept telling myself all of these things, and then more and more time was getting by. And it sounds
wasted.
Like it's, yeah.
Time wasted.
Yeah, it's a lot of wasted time. So what do you, I know you've been excited to share. So what are your thoughts about this, the lying to yourself?
Well, look, I don't have much to add. I think this was killer. Are you guys getting value out of this? Stephanie's covered a lot of really good stuff. If you're liking this and it kind of resonates with you and it's maybe giving you a little bit of a wake-up call, comment value. Type value in the comments. We'd love to know that you guys are engaged. We've got over 30 people watching right now. Mm-hmm. But is this useful to you guys? We always want to make sure we kind of keep our finger on the pulse of the group and these lives as well. But that's incredible. And look, the core, and I'll try to keep this concise, right? I have a few thoughts and actually got some new ones from reading the comments. So thank you for participating as well. The whole thing is, how do we move forward in our lives? That's the essence of why we accepted you into the group, whether or not that's actually what you thought you were coming in here for. But it's about feeling better and creating better relationships and a better life. So, we kind of talk about this in our core videos and the units as well. Mm-hmm. The 3 pillars to really making positive change. And the first one is really about getting clear on where you're at. More specifically, and really part of the reason why, I thought this would be a really good topic tonight, is it's not just, it's getting clear on where you're at the surface, but what this requires at a deeper level is radical self-honesty. The theme for tonight's talk was kind of like you're lying to yourself. Now, I'm 45 as of yesterday.
I forgot to say that. Yes, happy birthday to you, babe. Our daughter turned 2 Monday, and David turned Turned 45 yesterday. So
well, thank
happy
you, thank you.
birthday.
Yeah, no, but my point is that, and I know that, one of you recently, right? Let me not miss you. Was it Evelyn? Yeah, we're trying to keep. It's a little hard to keep track of all of these, but we get a lot of times the feedback. Oh, it's too late for me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm 45, and there was a long period of time where, I just felt stuck, and I didn't think that things were going to get better. But again, the essence of this concept is radical self-honesty. And I may have in the past been, or at least thought I was, too smart for my own good. Again, I wasn't open to new ideas. And this first part about moving forward, being honest with yourself, requires you to step out of these cycles, to begin to look at what you think about on a daily basis, what you focus on. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the some of the reasons why people get stuck, and you kind of touched on some of these before, but loneliness, all right? If I change, I'm not going to have the sympathy and attention from my circle of friends, because our common bond is commiserating on how miserable life is.
I might lose my friends.
Does that resonate with anyone? Okay? Because let's face it, and this is really the biggest thing, and let me just say it outright. The reason we aren't honest with ourselves is because we start to recognize that change is uncomfortable, and we don't like being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
that's why some of the people that join like our 8-week program, they'll say to me like, oh, I was scared to jump in because I knew that it was going to be like, hold my feet to the fire and create change. But it's the best investment I've ever made in myself, is to be able to get that support from other people. So
that said, right, the cure to loneliness is surrounding yourself with people who support you, love you unconditionally, have had the experience of actually overcoming the things that you want to break through, and give you that positive support directly and indirectly. Like you said before, you can be measured, or you can measure a person in a lot of ways by examining who they hang out with. So if you felt like there's this discomfort of, if I change, everything's going to change. Maybe that requires you to stop hanging out with certain people. Maybe that requires you to leave a relationship. That's uncomfortable, especially when you've got a house and kids and all these ties, right? These family ties. Well, when do you realize that, like, okay, this is more bondage than connection. Okay, so there is that discomfort of loneliness,
and there's the discomfort of asking for help. I mean, that's like the biggest thing, right? It is so uncomfortable to ask for help. Like, I'm really smart, I can figure this out. Like I said earlier today.
So. Yeah, sorry, not to cut you off, but
go ahead. That's so scary sometimes.
Well, here's another way that we lie to ourselves. We're too proud. We're too proud. Or maybe that's just a thinly veiled guilt and shame. Starting to recognize the discomfort of knowing that we can't do it on our own. Okay? Self-doubt. You want to change, but on some level, you tell yourself that you can't. That's a fucking lie. I'm sorry. Now, it may seem true based on your previous experience, but we see this all the time. In fact, I had a session with one of our inner circle members yesterday where she had felt that it was literally decades of constant pain and a lot of these things that we've been talking about, all these obstacles, all these barriers to happiness. And we had a Psych K session, high-speed mindset change, which is the reprogramming of this disempowering subconscious beliefs, which is my passion and one of the big things that I bring to this. Decades of pain and sadness and frustration, feeling neglected, feeling unworthy, stripped away. And this is a do-with process. I'm not working with clients and waving a wand and saying, poof, hey, you feel better now, you're fixed. It's not like that. What this really does is shine a light on your true power to create change. So that being said, again, you're far more powerful than you've been led to believe, but until you surround yourself with the right people and have the courage to ask for help, you're not going to get access
and
to
ask
these
for
tools.
help from the right people, because Chris just said, I feel like I ask for help too much. But here's the thing. You've got to ask for help from the right people, and then you have to follow through on it.
Yeah.
Because we can tell you all the right things to do all day long, but if you're not actually going to listen to any of our advice, it's a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah, and the self-doubt is feeding procrastination, right? But absolutely, 100%. Like, why take advice from someone who isn't where you want to be? Unless you're just looking for someone to reinforce your own biases, right? Confirmation bias, right? They talk about that a lot, especially in today's world with politics and everything else that's going on. So, again, is self-doubt cutting your legs out from under you? Are you telling yourself, well, oh no, I reach out and I try to get it, but all
And then
you're
you
really
commiserate with other
for,
people that also say, oh yeah, it's not possible. And then, there we go.
Exactly.
It's done.
Another one, fear, all right? Fear, particularly of the unknown. When you've been living your life this way for so long, you've integrated and become just basically a conditioned response mechanism. You're thinking with your conditioned emotions, and even when you feel like consciously you want to change and start to recognize how crappy your current situation is, and maybe even get ideas of like, okay, there are things that I can do to make a difference in my life. It could very well be that the fear of, even subconsciously, the fear of change, the fear of the unknown, uncertainty is greater than the fear of what you know, and even when it's crappy, right? I talked about it before. I used to be depressed, and it sucked. And sure, on one hand, I wanted things to be different, but I had no concept of how or what that was or how it could be. So I would revert back to depression on purpose because it felt like a cloak, like a big heavy cloak, the security blanket, right? It was known, it was familiar. So take a look at that. I mean, again, a big part of this process of ending the dishonesty to yourself is a willingness to start asking yourself the tough questions. Okay? Do you really want to break through, or do you just want to be like coddled and patted on the back and told it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, and now you're on your deathbed and oh, it's okay, you did the best you could? No.
Yeah.
That's not what this is about. This group isn't about finding ways to cope with being a sad sack until you're done. We want to show you a way to find your superhero self. And, the superhero, pick your favorite superhero. They may have dealt with self-doubt, but what did they do to push through? They accessed something bigger than the stories that they had been telling themselves. Again, the discomfort of knowing that if I make these tough decisions, if I start enforcing boundaries, people are going to not like me. My routine might get upset and turned around. I might have even more stress piled on top of all the stress that I've already got. You know what? It's probably not worth it. Let me just ignore it. And when the way we deal with this discomfort is we go back to sleep. We go back to autopilot mode. And again, give me some likes and loves if this is resonating with you, because I don't know about you all, but for me, I would go through periods of life where maybe I came to a milestone, like a birthday, and look back and said, holy crap, like what the heck happened to the last year, the last 5 years, the last 10 years? I wanted to just go back to sleep because I had self-doubt. I didn't believe that something bigger was possible. I didn't think I was capable of it. I felt like if it was possible, I ought to know, and I ought to be able to figure it out on my own. And I ought to be able to do it on my own, regardless of, okay, well, you know what? This process takes a bit of humility. Sometimes you gotta, take yourself down a peg or two. And another one that I thought of, just actually coming up from the comments as well, is the idea that, well, I can't change. It's too late for me. Like I gave you the example before, and that was just one example of our inner circle members. But this is, countless times, and shameless plug, you can take a look at the testimonials album in the media section of this group for some feedback. Unsolicited testimonials from our friends, our inner circle members.
We have some of them in the group that are watching right now. Just saying.
Yes. But the reality is, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter how long you've been this way. It doesn't matter how you got that way, okay? What we have a passion for, and we're going to touch on this before we, kind of close the call tonight, is showing people that it really doesn't matter how long things have been this way. Not only is it possible for you to change in a significant way and experience a radical shift, a quantum leap in your healing, to feel better, to feel more at peace, more loving, more generous, grateful, more able to forgive. It's not only possible, but it's worth it. In fact, it's ultimately worth it. And I'll just insert briefly that I feel that we have a responsibility, right? There's an expression, the greatest gift you can give is that of your own personal transformation.
Yeah.
You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your kids. You owe it to your friends, even the ones who try to cut you down, okay? Because when you heal yourself or get on that path of healing and start putting down these burdens, starting to free your mind, free your heart, you will naturally no longer be inclined or magnetized to engage in these dynamics with people, and they're going to realize that, oh crap, I can't get my fix by manipulating this person and making them feel bad, whatever the dynamic is. And they may say, this is bullshit, you've changed, I'm out of here. Okay, don't let the door hit you, right? Or they might say, wow, you know what, something's changed. And look, a lot of times we feel alone, but whether we realize it or not, guys, we're all in this together, and our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors influence others, often in profound ways that we're not even aware of. The reason why this is important is because, number one, first and foremost, you deserve to feel better. You deserve to have more peace, happiness, joy, positivity, passion in your life. But the people in your life, whether you love them or hate them, we're all human beings, okay? And we all deserve to get to a place where we can be more self-sufficient, and instead of engaging in like this emotional economy where we're just looking at someone else for what we can get out of it, we're better able to give.
And step away.
You know what I mean?
We're better able to step away. We can give, and that's great, but we can also step away from what is not helping us.
And I understand what you're saying, and this is not to say that you need to stay in an unhealthy relationship, okay? Again, like I mentioned before, sometimes you've got to make the tough decisions. Part of healing yourself is, like we talk about, boundaries, and you have to ultimately decide for yourself when enough is enough. But when you look towards your feelings as the barometer for success, you can decide in any moment to make a change. And furthermore, it's your responsibility and you owe it to yourself to make a change. So yeah, let's not confuse that with the idea of like, continuing to give more to somebody who's just a psychic
throwing
vampire.
Out the window,
No, that's not.
Yeah.
And thank you for clarifying that.
Good.
That's not what I'm saying at all. But my point is that it's not too late for you, and it's worth it. So again, the reason why your life may not have been moving forward is because you've been lying to yourself. You thought that it wasn't possible. You thought that you weren't capable of doing it. You felt like you've got to go through this alone for it to have real value. You might have thought you were smarter than you actually are and feel like, no one's going to know better than me. That's the essence of it. Hopefully that was helpful. It's my 2 cents, guys.
So how did that feel? And again, smarter is just like for the knowledge. So like sometimes we think we know more than we do about certain things, but we can look at the results. If we're not seeing the results that we want, then we need to start doing something different. So, I think David gave some really good insight in there. And I think that, there's a lot of people on here right now. And I think that I want to actually share something I normally don't jump out and share in one of the lives. But, we have an 8-week program. The 8-week program, for those of you who are like, hey, I want to do something different. I'm going to admit that I need help and I need support. I mean, you can work with us. If you like these lives, you like doing this with us every, once a week, this is educational. What if you had us in your back pocket to help you make choices and changes with us there all the time to support you through it? We do weekly live streamed coaching on Mondays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have core curriculum. We have daily access to us, which is like unheard of in the coaching space.
That's true.
And, we have all these things, and we have amazing, talking about support. We have amazing people that are supportive and helpful and want to heal along with you.
Our inner circle people are some of the best people I know.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's a really powerful
And so, if you're looking and you're ready to say, like, I'm going to stop thinking like I wasn't invited to the healing party. Like, hey, we're inviting you to the healing party. Like, let's go. Let's do this. Let's dive in. What we see from clients, once they jump in and they get the right support, all of a sudden they're like, whoosh, not right away. Sometimes it's a little, and some of you that are watching right now will agree, but we get to this place and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't even, all of this work, and now I'm actually in a place where I want to be. We take the guesswork out so that you actually have the right tools that you can use to create the life that you want without the guesswork. We actually help you as experts, help you through and figure it out.
Yeah, and there are probably quite a few of you who are watching this. And again, if we didn't answer a particular question or you're watching a replay, comment. We'll definitely get back to you. But there are probably a lot of people watching this who are just kind of watching us for the first time. Guys, this is a large group. We come on here every Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We interact as much as we can during the week and really try to provide you with valuable content. But with the scope of this group, we only have the ability in this group to talk about the what, okay? If you're watching this, and this message isn't for everybody, okay, I'm sorry, but if you're watching this and you feel like a lot of this is resonating, if you're kind of vibing with what we're bringing to you tonight, right? And you're at a point where you feel like, okay, you know what, like I'm starting to hear the bells toll, like this is starting to really become present for me. I haven't been able to make changes. I've been asking myself, like, when is enough going to be enough? What is going to give? I want to tell you that if you are looking for a way to dive deeper and get the support, the guidance, and the actual tools to make real change at a deep level where it makes a difference, as opposed to, maybe just reading another book or seeing your therapist again to talk about the problems. Yep. Okay, if you're at
You've
that
done
point,
that before, that hasn't worked. Let's stop doing that.
If you're at the point where you want to make real change, we can have a chat just to see it, because we're not the best fit for everybody. But let me give you a call to action right now. If you're at a point where you want to make real change and get expert guidance, support, and powerful cutting edge tools to reshape your beliefs, your perceptions, and change how you think, how you feel at a deep level, and how you behave, and therefore your results, from people who have been through it, very likely been in the position that you're in right now, go ahead and comment, I'm ready. Go ahead and comment, I'm ready. Look, guys, we love coming to you with this content every week. It's a passion of ours, and we really hope that it's beneficial for you. But if you are at a point where you're ready to take the next step,
you want us to help you,
and we've got options, we can just have a conversation. So if you want to talk to us, see if you might be a good fit for one of our programs, comment, I'm ready. We see some I'm readies coming through. I love it. And look, guys, the bottom line is you got to start to consider that you're worth it. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to set you up with the people that are commenting, I'm ready. We're going to set you with the Essential Tools Kit, which is going to get you 30 minutes with me, my book and my workbook, so you're going to have that access.
And we'll reach out.
It's an amazing deal. It's only $30, so it's an amazing deal for what you get. You could go online and you could go to Amazon and purchase the book and the workbook by yourself, but then you wouldn't get access to me. And of course, my brain and your body, we're going to actually start to create change and start to look around at the things that are not working for you.
That's a good idea too. Yeah, because again, it's we've got ways that we can work with just about anybody, provided, by the way, because we do actually have to turn people away. We can find a way to help you. What's necessary is that you are willing to show up. Show up, be authentic, okay? This is not an ego thing. We've been where you are.
It's okay to ask
for
help. We
found the tools, and the bottom line is our inner circle clients can attest. They get results, and things can change dramatically. So if you're ready, comment, I'm ready, and we will definitely catch you.
We will. And if you're looking to make an appointment right away, can you just put the phone number in there? If you want to not miss out, because I've got like 3 spots left for tomorrow. If you want to jump in right away tomorrow, you can text message me directly and just text message I'm ready to 631-317-4027 and just message I'm ready. We'll set you up with that essential toolkit. You'll get the book and the workbook, the 30 minutes with me. And then, I'll tell you more about the 8-week program and see if it's the right fit for you. Again, not everybody's ready to make the change, but if you are ready, for all of you commenting I'm ready, then let's jump in and let's start, take the guesswork out and actually get the right support to create the change that you want. So, we're trying to keep it to less than an hour, but let's go with one question. And for those of you if you have a question, write that down. I want to be able to answer any questions people have. We can always go back and answer them. Again, you're watching this as a recording. We will go back and answer questions. But we can answer questions, and I'd love to also be able to see what your biggest takeaway from tonight is. What is your takeaway? And for those of you who aren't ready, you're not ready, you're not typing in, I'm ready, keep watching these.
Stick with
At
the group,
some point,
guys.
you'll be ready to decide like, hey,
Yeah.
I've been doing this now for 6 months. I'm ready now. I want to do something different. So, what are some of your biggest takeaways?
Yeah,
and any
and
questions
as you're
you have?
and as you're catching up, like I'm kind of scrolling through the feed too to see. And again, if we don't get to a particular question, like I said, this wasn't intended necessarily to be a Q&A, but we love the interactive style, which is why we do these lives instead of just recording content and then posting it. Going through this.
All right, I don't see any questions coming up. Okay, Christina said, stop lying to myself. Good, I like it. Christina, I look forward to talking to you.
Lisa, is that all you do, sales? Are you asking us?
Yeah.
No, and you know what? Look, some people aren't comfortable with that either. And I think it's an important point to bring up since some of you might be watching us for the first time. This is a free group. It's a private group. We try to screen people and make sure that we get good fit members for this. But we are professional coaches, life and relationship coaches.
Lisa's one of our clients.
I know that.
Oh.
I know that.
I was like,
Well,
wait a minute.
she's asking, is that all you do, sales? I don't know. I mean,
I'm confused by the question.
okay, and maybe we can get some clarification. But let's also be real because we're totally transparent.
Mm-hmm.
We come on every week and provide a ton of free content. But we are professional coaches, and for those of you who want to dive deeper, I'm not saying you have to hire us, but we do have paid content. We have one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and we get results. So and by the way, we talk about this a lot. So if you're new to the group, we may bring this up occasionally on the weekly lives and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. If it's weird for you, like no hard feelings. There are other groups, right? Mm-hmm. And we're not pushy at all. Like the reality is we believe in what we do, and that's why we talk about it. Because at the end of the day, the results are what matter. And I'm telling you, just to speak personally to you guys for a second, there is little in my life that is more fulfilling than seeing people transform. It's not ego gratification. I'm no hot shit. The reality is I went through a really tough time, found the tools to turn my life around completely. I mean, most people meeting me wouldn't know that I spent my 16th birthday in a mental institution for suicidal depression. I have a passion now for sharing just all I know that's worked for me. We've put that together in a program. We take one-on-one clients and individual sessions as well. The $30 Essentials Toolkit to get a number one new release book and workbook plus 30 minutes with Stephanie is huge. Who doesn't have $30? If you feel weird about possibly spending money, investing money in yourself, no problem.
And don't let that shy you away from watching more of the trainings.
I'll show you the door. And not to be a jerk, but like, let's face it, this isn't for everybody, but for those of you who are serious about making a change, the tools are out there. You don't have to suffer and struggle anymore. Mm-hmm.
And Lisa said we're great.
Of course.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're very sweet.
Yes.
We like you too, Lisa.
All right. So thank you all so much for tuning in. You look like you got really into that topic right there.
Look, it's
so we do this every Thursday. So we're really excited to be here for you every Thursday. Feel free to ask questions. If we didn't get to answer them during the live, we will go back and answer them for you.
Yeah, we'll probably spend the next hour to
That's what we do. Afterwards, we go back and we respond to everybody who's looking for an appointment, and we go and respond to a bunch of people.
Yeah, no, we love it. Thanks, guys, for interacting, for asking the questions, for showing your love and support, and for believing in yourselves, for showing up here. Because the reality is, again, it's not as difficult as you might think, but 80% of success, as they say, is showing up. So
for those of you who are looking for help, make sure that you write down "I'm ready," and I will be reaching out to you personally. And again, David wrote my text. You can text me also, so feel free to do that. So we look forward to talking with you and seeing you in the group. Keep sharing, keep learning, keep growing, and never forget you're way stronger than you realize. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye, guys.